It's Monday, September 4th, 2017, and it's time to review 5 of the most outrageous, infuriating, or just plain baffling things that have happened lately. It's your Facepalm 5. Let's count them down. Number 1. Evangelical leaders release bigoted Nashville Statement. Last week, the Council on Biblical Manhood and Womanhood, an evangelical Christian organization that describes itself as a coalition on biblical sexuality, don't that sound like fun, released what it called the Nashville Statement. It's a document signed by over 150 evangelical Christian leaders containing 14 articles that affirm specific conservative attitudes toward human sexuality while denying other, more progressive positions. Much of the statement is explicitly anti-gay and anti-trans, such as Article 1, which declares that marriage must only be of the one man and one woman variety, or Article 5, which declares that gender and biological sex are determined by one's reproductive organs, or Article 7, which denies, quote, that adopting a homosexual or transgender self-conception is consistent with God's holy purposes. The small-minded bigotry exemplified by the Nashville Statement is more than enough to render it worthy of condemnation, but beyond that bigotry are some ideas that can only be described as just weird. For instance, Article 1 not only denies the validity of same-sex and polyamorous relationships, but also seems to reject the very notion of secular marriage, declaring that marriage is not, quote, a mere human contract rather than a covenant made before God. I'm glad the Lutheran minister who agreed to officiate my wife's and my wedding without saying so much as a single prayer wasn't such a hard ass. And by the way, thanks for not just being a good Christian, but being a good person, Pastor Elaine. Number 2, man lies about being stabbed for looking like a neo-Nazi. Last month, a man in Sheridan, Colorado named Joshua Witt told police he'd been stabbed. He speculated that his attackers might have assumed he was a white supremacist because of his haircut. And that's when things started to get interesting. Police could find no other witnesses to the alleged assault. When they arrested a suspect based on Witt's description of his attacker, Witt was unable to pick that suspect out of a photo lineup. Eventually, Witt admitted to investigators that he hadn't been attacked at all. He'd accidentally stabbed himself with a knife he'd recently purchased at a sporting goods store. For lying to police about being the victim of a hate crime, Witt has been charged with making a false police report. He faces up to a year in jail and a $2,600 fine. What really puzzles me about this story is why Witt felt the need to invent an attack to cover up the fact that he stabbed himself at all. Why didn't he just go find one of the many gangs of violent anti-fascists who are roaming the streets of American cities? You know, the ones who are attacking anyone and everyone who even looks like a Nazi, and just let them see his haircut. Also, can we talk about how unfair it is to assume purely on the basis of his haircut that this dipshit is trying to be like Richard Spencer? Come on. Maybe he's actually trying to be like The Miz. Which, no, that wouldn't be as bad, I guess. Number 3, Texas Republicans flip-flop on disaster relief. Hey, remember back in 2013 when virtually the entire congressional Republican delegation from Texas voted against a bill to fund relief efforts in New York and New Jersey in the wake of Hurricane Sandy? Funny postscript to that story. Well, not funny haha so much as funny, oh Jesus, somebody help those poor people. In the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey, which caused record rainfall and widespread flooding in Houston, Texas and surrounding areas, and has, as of this recording, resulted in 39 deaths, the small government conservatives who control most elected offices in the state are singing a very different tune. Governor Greg Abbott, who, as state attorney general, sued the federal government 31 times, has said he, quote, could not be more appreciative of what the federal government has done to help with Harvey relief efforts. Texas members of Congress who demanded that the Hurricane Sandy relief package be free of pork barrel spending or they wouldn't vote for it, and then didn't vote for it even though it was free of pork barrel spending, have placed no such conditions on their support of a Hurricane Harvey relief package. So Republicans from Texas have no problem supporting federal spending on disaster relief as long as it benefits people from Texas and not people in New Jersey or New York. I guess that old saying about how everything's bigger in Texas includes hypocrisy, huh? Number 4, Georgia Republican makes veiled threat of violence against Confederate monument critic. And now, just to prove that all the dickheads in the Republican Party aren't from Texas, Jason Spencer, Republican member of the Georgia State House of Representatives, recently posted a photo of himself on Facebook standing in front of a memorial to Jefferson Davis, along with the caption, "This is Georgia's history, #dealwithit." LaDawn Jones, a former Georgia state rep herself and a black woman, commented that Spencer had better take his picture with the Davis Memorial now before it's taken down. Spencer replied to Jones, saying that if she persisted in efforts to have the Davis Memorial removed, she, quote, won't be met with torches, but with something a lot more definitive. In another comment in the same thread, Spencer said that people like Jones would, quote, go missing. It wasn't the first time Spencer had threatened violence against those advocating for the removal of Confederate monuments. In an earlier Facebook post, Spencer called critics of the monuments, quote, communists, and asked, quote, why must they provoke something they are about to regret? Spencer has deleted the post where he had the exchange with Jones, though he has also defended his comments, claiming he was misinterpreted and didn't intend to threaten her. Spencer also characterized his comments to Jones, where, again, he implied she would be met with a violent response if she continued to advocate for the removal of Confederate monuments, as part of a, quote, painful conversation that we need to have about racial divisions in this country. Apparently, Representative Spencer is only willing to have painful conversations about racism if the pain is only felt by black folks. And now it's time for the segment devoted to some of the things that Donald Trump has done lately to disgrace the presidency and embarrass and or endanger the United States and the world. It's number 5, the further misadventures of Lord Dampnut. Please keep in mind, as always, the following is not a complete list. He pardoned former Maricopa County, Arizona Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who had been convicted of criminal contempt for ignoring a court order aimed at stopping practices that amounted to racial profiling. At a rally in Arizona before the pardon was announced, Trump declared that Arpaio had been convicted for doing his job. The ACLU described the pardon as a presidential endorsement of racism. He signed an order to officially ban transgender people from joining the military and banning the Defense Department from providing health care related to transitioning for trans people currently serving. As of this recording, Trump is reportedly considering canceling the DACA program, which provides young people who entered the U.S. as undocumented immigrants protection from deportation while they work and go to school. Last week, the Trump administration also ended an Obama-era policy aimed at shrinking the wage gap between men and women, rescinding a rule that required large corporations to report wages to the Office of Management and Budget by race and gender. And prior to the August recess, and before Hurricane Harvey devastated southeastern Texas, Republicans were preparing to consider a spending bill that would cut nearly $900 billion from the budget of FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Why such a large cut to the budget of such an obviously necessary federal agency? To help cover the cost of starting construction on Trump's Mexican border wall. You remember, the one that Trump campaigned on by promising that Mexico would pay for it? That's 5. Speak out, act out, resist, and look after each other. Hey folks, hope you got something out of that one. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And also please consider helping me to make more videos like this one by supporting this channel through Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Steve Shives to become a patron of this channel for as little as $1 a month. But if you can afford to pledge $5 a month or more, you can take advantage of some special extra perks that I've thrown in to just kind of make it a little more worth it to you. And one of those perks is a shout out at the end of the Facepalm 5, just like my newest $5 per month plus patron, Samael. Thank you, Samael, for your support. Thanks to all of you at whatever level your patronage is for supporting the channel. Thanks to all of you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Patronage, patronage, patronage.